Claude, how are we?
I'm good.
Good. Today we are doing putting. It's something that I massively struggle with, and Big Ange recently.
Of recent years, yeah. My putting was normally quite strong, 12 handicap. I was all right with it, but as the guys at home know, it's gone plummeting down, and anything within 2 feet.
And a big problem for me is the closed putts. The lining up and stuff
the
like that.
gimmies.
So basically,
aren't gimmies.
Yeah. So basically, you teach the world's best, and now you've got us two Muppets. Please teach us how to putt.
I'll try and dumb it down. So basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to putt some from here. We've got a thing that's going to kind of show us how your body's moving around. We're going to take a look at kind of what your body's doing, what the ball's doing, what the club's doing, and just kind of get a combination of what's going on. I think a lot of times people forget that the putting stroke is just like the full swing. It's still got movement to it, and a lot of times I think people just don't really have an understanding of how they're controlling the putter in a very, very short period of time. The stroke is quite small, so I think sometimes people tend to have a lot of movement and are moving around for, this is probably maybe 6 feet. So it's not a long distance, but I think a lot of times people have a lot going on in a very, very short period of time. Right.
So basically, for the people at home, what is this?
So this is just a pressure mat. It's going to show us, so you can see on the screen, it's going to show us how much weight we've got on our toes, how much weight we've got on our heels, how much we're moving that way. And then that little white ball is kind of showing us where your center of pressure would be and how much you're moving. So if you're moving around like that, you're going to get it. So I think a lot of times, because the stroke is so small, golfers just tend to be doing a lot. And really in putting, I think less is more. The less you're moving around, the easier it is for you to control. Because remember, the putting stroke is only really from here to here. Right? That's really as far back as we're going to take it. We're not making a big weight transfer like we do in the full swing. So I think a lot of what happens in putting is just getting an understanding as to what the putting stroke does. Like the full swing, most people will have a DNA or a signature in their putting stroke. And believe it or not, if you're a big slicer in the full swing, so if you're someone that hits big, weak kind of slices, we will see some correlations across the boards from what you're doing in your full swing. It'll kind of leak into what you're doing in your short game. Really? And believe it or not, it'll leak into what you're doing in your putting as well. So having an understanding as to what your tendencies are as a player, I think can be really, really helpful. You'll be able to do things in all aspects of your golf swing that I think it's easy in a golf lesson to come in and tell you all the things you're doing wrong. The idea behind having all of this technology, the technology for me really is just for me to be able to paint the picture for you as the student. Say, listen, this isn't my opinion. This is what you're doing. This is what your body's doing. This is what your weight's doing. So through all of the technology that we've got, it's less for me as the instructor and it's more for you as the player so that I can show you what you're doing so that you can say, oh, okay, I didn't know I was doing that. Because a lot of times in golf, you're never doing in your golf swing across the board, full swing, short game putting, you're never doing things because you want to. You're doing things because you have to. So in putting, a lot of times people take the putter back outside, it gets a little bit shut. They instinctively know that it's gone outside and a little bit shut, so then they have to try and manipulate the blade coming through. So my job as a golf instructor, I think, is very similar to someone coming in saying, listen, I don't feel good. I'm going to see a doctor. I don't feel good. Listen, I've been having these problems. You know what? Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll give you a little checkup. You know what? If we can't really find anything and you're still having the symptoms, we go do some x-rays, we go take an MRI, so that the doctor can then say to the patient, listen, these are your symptoms, this is what the problem is, and this is how we're going to try and fix the problem.
Come on then, doctor.
There we go.
Let's sort this problem out.
I need a full checkup.
Mine is terminal.
All right, so who's the first victim?
I'm going to
go on for it. You go first.
I'll be the first patient.
First patient, turn on the lights. Okay, you're going to stand right there, Tubes, aim at the target, and whenever you're ready.
Can I just ask a quick question before I put this in the hole? What should my body weight be?
It's not what it should be. This is just telling you what you're doing. So there's no right answer, right? We're just trying to get a good idea as to what it is that you're doing. There's no right answer here.
Okay.
We're just getting data, and we're just going to show you what you do.
Thanks for having me, Claude.
There you go. And he's done. And he's done. So, Tubes, what is the tendency, if there is one? Do you miss putts a specific direction? Do you miss putts to the left? Do you miss putts to the right? What is the tendency?
I sort of miss them both sides, Claude.
Okay.
And when I get to...
Claude, there's no consistency.
Yeah, there's no consistency. Okay. And so when I'm about here as well, like the gimme putts, as you say, I think it's mental as well with me. I go, oh God, I get nervous, and I don't hit it properly.
So the only thing that's consistent is it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Consistent inconsistency.
The big thing that I see is if you look at where you're set up, okay? So if I draw a line from the ball, okay, up to where your eyes are, right? So your eye line is here. So your eyes are inside the line of the ball, and you're sitting back a lot on your heels. The backswing's going back that far, and the follow-through's gone back this far.
Right.
Okay? So the backswing's going back here, the follow-through gets a little bit short, and there's a little bit of the club kind of being on that angle, so it gets a little bit kind of jabby and get a little bit handsy. So I think we could make some changes in the setup. Let's go and take a look at what the club is doing. All right, so if we draw a line on the shaft, because these cameras kind of stay in the same place, they're going to show us how the putter's going back and through.
Wow, that's
This
awesome.
technology is amazing.
So that goes back on plane pretty good, maybe just a little bit inside. And then as you come in, see how it's working a little bit off plane.
Yeah.
So it's more up here now. And to me, that's a lot to do with the fact that you get a little bit kind of scoopy and handsy. And the other thing is, if you look at where your body is and watch your head position, your head's going to move around a little bit as you hit this. See the head position?
Yeah.
We're going to have you hit some and feel like your head doesn't move.
Got it, yeah.
And feel like your body doesn't move. But the big thing I think we can do is just get you lined up better. Go ahead and set up like you were going to hit the putt. You don't need a ball, so just go ahead and set up. No ball.
No ball.
You don't need a ball. Yeah, so just go ahead and set up.
Right, so I'd have the ball.
Yeah, just the way you normally do it.
I'd have the ball right in the middle of my stance.
Yep,
I'd
right
have
there.
I'd have my legs out a little bit like this.
I'm good with that.
And then
Okay, put that there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put that in there. And you can see that the tendency is to aim to the right.
And that's what's been happening a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it.
So the tendency there, you can see when you set the putter down, is it's aimed to the right.
But why is that, Claude? Why am I doing that?
You know, a lot of times because you're right-handed and you're looking at the ball like this, it's easy to kind of get over here and go like that. Do you use a line when you putt?
That's something I've been learning.
Yeah, so you put a line on the ball?
Yeah.
One of the other things I think that's really good is if you think about where this is set up, right? Right, so that's set up in the middle of the hole.
Yeah.
Right, what most golfers do when they get set up is they come in and they take their stance. So wherever they've taken their stance, they have to set the putter up. So if you think if I get over here and go like that, that's going to look really weird based off of where my feet are.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you can start to do is set the putter up to the ball first,
And
then build your stance around where the putter is. Most people set up first,
That's exactly what I do.
and wherever,
Like
yeah,
that,
they
and
get
I go-
set up. So if you think about it, if we're going to put a line on the ball, right, and we're going to put, I've got this line on the ball here, right? If you think about that matching kind of where that would be, the idea being that you're going to set the putter up first.
Claude, is that why Billy Horschel does that exact thing when he sort of steps forward and then...
Yep. Greg Norman did that with his full swing. Greg always kind of went in, set the club down first, then built his stance around the putter. So I think it's a good thing to do to get the putter lined up first, then go ahead and feel like you take your stance and get your stance built around the putter. And the other thing I'd like you to try and do is feel like your eyes are more So when you look down, you're trying to feel like your eye line is here. Your eye line.
So looking over the ball.
Yeah, you're trying to feel like you're getting your eyes directly over the ball. And what I'll do is I'll film that for you so you can see. Yeah, you might get closer to it. And a little bit more weight on your toes. There you go. Now, listen, Tubes, for the ball to go in the hole. Don't look at it. Listen for the ball to go in the hole.
Oh, he's
There
in.
you go.
Did it go?
Yep.
Yeah. Did it go in? He didn't make the noise. Yeah,
I
licked
was
it.
looking at the ball.
Yeah.
Mate, that's mad.
So if we look at where your eye line is,
Yeah.
up from the ball, you're there. And here, that's basically right over your eye.
This is all. So
You see,
basically,
that's basically right over where your eye line is. And you can also see the difference, that just that slight little change in, see that angle?
yeah.
See how that's going more up through your forearms as opposed
Is
to
that because
under
I'm-
your
is that
forearms?
because I'm
Yeah,
more on
so
my
your
toes?
weight is more forward and you're just more in a stable position. So if we watch this and watch your head move and see the body move,
Yeah.
watch how much more stable your body stays here.
And that again is because I'm on my heels, isn't
Yeah.
it? So it's more.
See how the
Oh,
body
so-
stayed still?
Yeah.
So look at the difference in where your body's at. So see how much more your shoulders and everything have opened up?
Yeah.
And when we look at it from this angle, right, you'll see a big difference in how your body is just staying nice and still. Okay, so watch how your body will move here after you hit it. See your head and your body?
Yeah, it's all over the shop.
Right,
isn't
and
it?
watch this. Watch how much more stable and still you stay. Weight's a little bit more on the toes. And you stay really, really stable. And the body doesn't move.
Oh, it just looks much better, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then the other thing is, if we draw a line up from here, you can see how much more your weight is on your toes versus your heels. You're not sitting back so much. So you're just making your body be a little bit more stable. That makes sense?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it does. Completely makes
So obviously on the shorter putts, the shorter, closer you are to the hole,
Yeah.
you get in there, your eye line gets here, you get like that, and you can miss them. So the idea is to be as stable as you can be when you putt. You're just trying to feel like you're as stable as possible. One of the other ways that we can get you to feel that is at address, okay? I think it would help you if you felt like at address you had more weight on your front foot instead of the weight being even. Go ahead and feel like you've got 60% of your weight on your forward foot right here, and leave it there, right? We don't want any of this movement here. Because again, if I get really back in here and my eye line gets back here, I'm far away from the golf ball.
Yeah.
So everything's going to move. So if we get up here and we get closer and we get more on it and we go ahead and anchor our weight here, then we can just basically stay in this position and the body doesn't move around as much.
Right.
So give me a little bit more on this one. So what you feel like is that little bit closer and then the eye line. I would definitely, for you, Tubes, be using a line on the ball. Because then you can line it up and then you've got something to line the putter up
So
to.
line up,
Yeah,
address the club first.
yeah. Set that up.
Yeah.
Now build your stance around where that is aimed.
Get over the ball and my
Yeah.
front foot, bit on the left.
Yeah, just a little bit on that left side. And again, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to feel like you stay in that position and listen. Hands just slight. There you go. That's a better address position. And go.
Oh,
Good
whoa.
putt. Now, watch the difference in the setup, how much different the shaft looks. So look at that position.
Yeah.
And look at that. That's way different.
Yeah, you can see it in the
So now, look at the angle. So that's a 90-degree angle up from the ball to the grip. See how the shaft is matching that?
Yeah.
See how your hands are behind the ball there? So see that shaft?
Yeah.
The hands are back there. So the tendency is you then get the handle to get a little bit on the scoopy side. So that's impact. So again, the handle is back. We're here. So that's impact,
Wow, yeah. Completely
address. Address, impact. And I really like the fact that you're able to stay a lot more here now. Instead of there, your weight is staying more forward. Watch your head. See how stable you are there?
Yeah.
And then over here, the head and the body are already moving. And there's a lot more breakdown here. See that? Look at that angle there
Yeah.
versus that angle there. So you're not scooping it as much. If you look at the difference in these two, so that's catching it more in the center.
Yeah.
Look at how much higher that is. So the distance between the putter and the ground,
Yeah.
right? So you see how that's off the air and you're catching it more. So like if we looked at where the ball, the bottom of that putter is, you're catching that to a lot of times right up in here, where here you're catching it way more down in there. But here's the thing, I didn't tell you to do any of that. I didn't tell you to have the putter go lower to the ground.
It's just a shift that made it.
Just by making some changes there,
Shift of the.
we shift that way. And the other thing I think that we'll see a little bit better through impact, and again, that's definitely better. So I think just some small setup changes can help you just get the club in a better position. Wow. So people always ask me what is my job as a coach for a guy like Dustin Johnson, who's one of the best players in the world, right? Like yourself, DJ, as great as he is, right? As great as all of these great players are, Rory, John Rahm, JT, they all have people on their teams around them because just like yourself, they can't see themselves, right? So all of the stuff that I showed you, you didn't know that you were doing any of it.
Yeah.
Right? So as soon as I show you what you're doing, you're like, wow, I didn't know my eyes were really inside. I didn't know I was hitting the ball up like that. So part of where I think golf instruction stuff, knowledge is power, because if you just go, okay, I didn't know I was doing any of that. So anytime we're going to try and make a change, when you go out on the golf course and you hit a bad one, you have, okay, let me make sure that my setup is good. Let me make sure my weight is good. Everything that we asked you to do all happened before you ever hit a golf ball, right? Before you ever made a stroke. Yeah. But you see how making changes to your setup can have a very dramatic effect on all of it. So when you see me on the driving range at tournaments and I'm standing there, I get jokes from people all the time and say, you've got the easiest job in the world because you don't really think, you're not really doing anything. Ideally, it's a little bit like...
They don't see all this, do they?
No, but ideally, my job, hopefully, is like the pilot on the airplane that flew you guys from the UK to Miami.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he's not, as you're sitting in the back...
Not needed.
You hope that the pilot just sits there the whole time and doesn't really have to do anything. Yeah. Right? If something goes wrong, then the pilot's job. So my job when I'm looking at players is to basically... A lot of what I'm doing by the time we get to tournaments... There isn't a lot that we can change in 4 days, right? We get there on a Monday, the tournament starts on Thursday. There isn't a ton of stuff that we can do to make massive changes because one, if we do, the player has to go play with all of those changes, right? Which is very hard to do. So a lot of times with the best players in the world, because they can't see themselves and because tour players, believe it or not, they're playing more golf than they're practicing. Yeah. They're in play mode all the time. They're not in practice mode. They're in tournament play mode. So my job is to look at guys and go, hey, just move that ball position a little bit more forward. You're a little bit too far away from the golf ball. Hey, just get a little bit more weight here. So small little adjustments, a little bit like Formula One. They bring the car in, they don't take the car apart. The driver tells them what they're doing. They bring it in and he says, the tires feel a little bit loose. They make small little changes. They send about every time Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen drives around the track in practice, they don't come in and say, let's take the entire car apart and rebuild it. Yeah. They come in and he says, listen, this is what I'm feeling. And they kind of go, okay, we make a little change here. We can make a little change there. So the idea for you is to just get in better setup positions and then the body won't move around. The more stable you are, the easier it is for you to make more consistent
But you
pucks.
say it's
Little changes,
but for
awesome.
me, it's a massive change.
There you go.
Thank
Awesome.
you so
Right,
much.
that was your masterclass.
Go on then.
Let's get over to me then.
Amazing. I'll see you later.
See you
I'm
in a
going to
bit.
practice.
All right.